Few would argue that for its size, Gibraltar has a vast pool of talent in the arts. This series hopes to highlight local artists and their work, with conversations becoming the vehicle through which their work is explored. Although comparisons will be inevitable, it was never intended to compare their work within this program. Art2Art is a humble electronic intruder in a world where stimulation of the senses is 1 million miles removed from electrons.
Normally I come at about 10 o'clock, work until 1 or 1:30. Then I come back sometimes at 4, sometimes at 3, and I stay here as long as I can until I have to go for my wife, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Do you have such a thing as a backlog of work, stuff that you are tackling but you haven't finished or you want to finish, or do you work on a day-to-day basis?
No, I start a series of paintings and I carry on working on them, and then you think they're finished, put them away, and suddenly after a few weeks or a few months you look at them again and say, goodness me, got to work on this again. I don't think you'll really finish any paintings. You know, it's an ongoing process, and then you say, you know, you sell it or you give it away, but you never have that.
It no longer forms part of your life.
Yeah.
Mario, you gave up teaching nearly 10 years ago now. But that was teaching as a profession. But you still teach, don't you?
I have a Monday class. I don't want to lose that lovely contact with young people. It's you know, you get a lot of feedback from young people, and you can impart ideas, and you can see what happens to an idea in another kind of a mind, a young mind. So I don't want to lose that. Really keeping in touch with teaching.
And you also get, of course, a look into the crystal ball of the future, and perhaps you can spot some new talents coming up. Are there any particular, not particular youngsters, but I mean, what is the future for art in Gibraltar as you see it at the moment, the young people that you see coming up?
Well, there are always a crop of very young, I've got one especially, which is fantastic. And there is always a crop of young people. I think the problem we have in Gibraltar is that the exposure to works of art is not as easily available as in England. So if you're studying in England, you can go to the National Gallery, to the Tate Gallery, you can see all the latest exhibitions. Here in Gibraltar, it's very difficult. We don't have a proper art gallery for young people to go and see the works of Gibraltarians or any other artists. Mm-hmm. So it is difficult. Music's easier. You get a record and it's exactly the same as the people in England hearing it.
You've been teaching for a long time. Is teaching something that is fulfilling for you?
Yes, it's very fulfilling. I've been teaching now for 18 or 19 years. No, sorry, 18 years. And if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's very fulfilling. I love being with young people, and it's also very good for me because I would never draw. I mean, I just paint at home. I hardly ever sketch, and with the lessons, you know, I help the children one thing and another, and it keeps me, I don't get rusty.
Now, have you perhaps pointed some of your students, you know, to a life of art, you know, who have kept it up? Or is it something just a passing fad, and they give it up?
No, some of them is a passing fad, but others I've had for years, and I've got some grown-ups that have children now, and they came when they were teenagers, and they're still with me, and they actually paint quite well now. Well, after so many years, I hope so. There's about out of 100. 20%, I would say, have an ability, if you like. A lot of them is as a pastime because they enjoy the lessons. But really, the people that are very, very able in the sense that they have it in them is very few. It's very rare to find a natural. Yeah? It's not easy. But they still learn because you can teach techniques and the way to mix colors. Yeah.
Mario, how have you evolved, say, in the last 3 or 4 years since we last spoke and we did some interesting stuff?
Well, it's always an evolution. I don't know whether one goes forward or one goes back, because you change as you get older. Life fits you in with lots of different things, lots of problems. and then you change your ideas around. I took the series of rooftops to the furthest I could push it, and became a very abstract composition in the end, which so I liked, and I thought this is a lovely road to go through. But then I said, I better change because I don't want to get stuck in a particular style for a long time. So I left the rooftops at that time, and then I started looking at Gibraltar, really at people, rather than looking at the buildings in Gibraltar. I started the series of the beach scenes, which were very successful in Algeciras in the exhibition I had in February. And that was really a very lovely way of getting a breather, as I would say, because it was a different problem. I was trying to make philosophically thinking of people in the beach who seem to be together, but when you look at them closely, they all seem to be very much on their own. The communication seems to be very limited, and they're all sometimes reading, sometimes, or even playing Lode or Tablita or whatever, and you felt that everybody's on his own in this world. You know, the world is a very, very lonely place, and you need people around you, but you're really on your own. My main concern is color, obviously. I'm a colorist. So I pay more attention to the color than to the actual drawing. So I normally start painting with pure colors, straight with a brush without drawing. But drawing, I find very essential to learn about how to apply the color. So drawing is my structure and base, but my paintings are all about color. They're really more involved with color than anything else. You have to express an idea, okay? And sometimes the way you feel, sometimes the levante will influence the way your colors will come in the painting. Sometimes I will block the canvas with a particular color to start with. So I'll start with a huge canvas full of blue or red or green in order to stimulate me to paint, to move away from the merely recording of a subject. You know, I don't want to copy a subject like a photograph. I want to create the impressions that I receive from nature into a painting. So the idea is that if I put a color, a base color, it will influence the colors that are going to be applied on top. So really, you're playing with stimulating yourself to react to a certain color that you might not have thought about when you're painting. You normally think of normal use of colors the way you see them. But if you really push yourself and place some particular color in the painting, that is going to influence you to paint other colors that will go well with that, you know, the harmony, create a harmony of all the colors that surround that particular color, the theme. So it's like a chord in the music where you have a particular chord and it's going to be your main theme, and all the others are merely helping it. And that's the way color has to work as well. You've got to have a theme, a color which streams through the painting, and all the other colors have to help it, like a prima donna, and all the others are around it.
Willa, would you class yourself as a very productive artist? I mean, how many paintings do you get through, say, in a year?
I think I am productive, yes, because I paint a lot. I get through, I've never really counted them, but maybe 30 a year.
30 sounds like a lot to me. How much time do you actually dedicate to painting? Because the sort of work that you do, detailed work, takes a long time, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I spend about, on average, 4 hours a day, every single morning, and sometimes in the afternoon. But normally, because my work is so detailed, after 4 hours, I lose concentration and I have to stop.
Now, that tells me that there is some sort of regime in your work. Do you have projects that you set yourself up, or do you always have work that you feel that you need to do?
I feel that I need to paint, right? I cannot be without painting for a long time because I feel guilt, anxiety, you name it. I always know what I'm going to do next. In fact, sometimes my head is so full of ideas that I can't put them fast enough onto canvas, because as you know, my paintings take quite long. But excuse me, yes, I do have a projection of what I'm going to do for the next 2 or 3 months.
Now, I know that artists are constantly evolving. You don't stand still. less of all you. How have you evolved in the last 3 or 4 years? How do you think you have evolved?
My style is more or less the same in the sense that I always stick to detail. I've tried to battle against it. Now I don't. And it hasn't worked. When I've tried to do impressionist work, it doesn't come from the heart. It's fake. So instead of battling, what I do is I change the subjects, but always with detail. Even if I do animals or people that I'm doing now, it's always with the detail. I think I have evolved in the sense that I'm changing the subjects. I always think in color. And when I'm doing a painting, before I do a painting, I have the colors pictured in my mind. Which color comes first? Depends, because there are paintings that have blue moods, and the normal coloring to use is all in blues or in greens or contrasts. It depends on the painting. If I want a painting with harmony or if I want a painting with contrast, then is when you have to start thinking, you know. So it's like an automatic reaction. I mean, you see it and you think, what type of mood do I want? If it's a passive cold mood, you use cold colors. If it's a more aggressive, you use brighter colors. But that just comes naturally. I mean, you know, I can give you an example. The Pierrot, that one over there. Before I did that one, I knew exactly that the colors I was going to use were cold colors. I wanted to experiment with cold colors. If you look at it, you will see that the overall effect is gray. But if you look at it closely, it's got tones of blues, greens, lilacs, and just a little few specks of red to brighten it out, which are in the letters, in the cards. That painting was intended to be like that. So I played about with cold colors.
How does it start with you? With a photograph? How do you...
No, usually I've got this is my camera, which is my sketchbook, and I always have it with me. I've got about 6 of these already. And I've got here the one of Toledo. I did 3 of Toledo, actually. And this is the one where the painting came from.
Right.
Usually I do pen and ink work, and it releases me from being bound to the color of the subject.
So you interpret the color later on?
Yeah.
But how much time do you spend in your initial, say, study of one of your panoramics?
This takes me about 5 minutes or 10 minutes or less.
And then you can spend anything up to 6 months, perhaps?
Yeah.
You know,
it's very rough, so you have to really start thinking of the problems involved in creating that particular idea you have in your mind about that
Do
scene.
you ever back those up with photographs or vice versa, Mario? Or...
No, local things I do a lot with photos, because sometimes it's very difficult to be in a particular area. The kind of thing you want to get, you cannot draw from that spot. Either it's in the middle of the street,
Right.
so you have to rely on camera. But it's so different. Taking a photo is so different to what you have when you see it, that it's very, very disheartening. But I have to do it because I need the record.
Another area, Mario, where you have, I'm sure, evolved and are constantly evolving is life studies. You have made many life studies. Do you still find a lot of challenge in the human form?
Well, I think it's the most challenging of anything you can paint. It's the human body is the most complex of shapes. And the trouble with the human body is it has to be correct. You can have a building, which could be a bit smaller, a bit bigger, a tree with 10 branches or 5 branches, and everybody would say it's a lovely tree. But if you have a body with a hump or a face twisted, everybody knows it's wrong.
Right.
So you have to be very, very accurate, very good at draftsmanship to be able to give that quality to a figure that you could get away with still lifes. Pots could be taller, smaller. So it's very easy to paint anything like that. I mean, like that Ross fellow who comes in television. He paints everything from memory, so he's always right. He cannot go wrong. He's inventing all the time his trees. So how can you make something wrong if you're inventing it, you know?
Now, in your interpretation of life studies, I noticed that sometimes there are bright yellows on the outline of the body, and in some others there may be darker colors. Does this depend on your mood at the time? Because
Very much so. Sometimes, you know, the model's going to come at 7 o'clock, and you've had a hell of a day, too much work, painting, or probably with the work I'm doing. So by the time that 7 o'clock comes, you're shattered. I mean, you're really tired. So you have the model, you say you have to use the model, you know, we're paying for the model, so you have to work for it. So you start working, and sometimes the whole work shows the way you feel. Other times you feel great, raring to go, and all your energy comes out, your colors come out, and you really feel like a king, you know, really.
I get some commissions, not too many, thank God, because I like to paint really what I want. In fact, I get like maybe 10 commissions a year, which is not too much for an artist.
that's a lot of work.
But it's a lot of work. And in fact, recently, I've just finished a commission, that I can show you now. It's a fun one. That one I've enjoyed very much. The challenge really was the tiny repetition on the ties. Because I've done things with a lot of detail before, but never with so much repetition. This particular painting took me from start to finish 6 months. But I've done other paintings in between, sandwiched them in between, because I knew it was a big task, right? And I didn't really want to get bored with it. So what I did was I left it, I got it from beginning to end 6 months, but it has had a lot of hours put into it. I get commissions like this occasionally because people that know me know that I go for a lot of detail. So obviously if somebody wants a very detailed painting, they come to me, you know. If they want an abstract or something else, they go to some other artist. Depends on the style that the person wants, you know.
Did you warm up to this?
Yes, we talked about it for over a year.
Once you started it, did you warm up to the idea, you know, of the ties
Yes,
draped on the chair?
I have to mentalize myself. I have to get into the mood. I have to, as you say, warm up to the idea, and I have to want to do it. I have to like the idea, because if I don't like the idea and I don't want to do it, it's very, very difficult. But I liked the idea. I thought it would look good.
And it does.
Well, I don't know. By now, I don't even know anymore because I've spent so many hours with it. But the client was happy, so you know that's very important.
Recently, you have completed 2 major studies of dance, which are quite big, actually. How long did they take you?
They took quite a long while. I had to take about 15 photos of people. Yes, I didn't want them to know that I was taking photos, so I wanted the natural pose. And then I told them that I would like to do a painting, and then sometimes they would come in to have a look, because the photo is never as good as you think it is. And then when the people say, yeah, it's her or it's her, but not quite. So I would call them in and say, come and pose for 5 minutes and let me look at this, or let me look at your eyes. And I would sort of work. And that's why it took quite a long time. But
why 2, Mario? Because it's interesting why you have only done 2.
Well, they're difficult.
They are difficult to achieve, no?
They are. Well, the thing is, first of all, the paintings that I do because I like, and then you start piling paintings up and more paintings up, and then you wonder what you're going to do with all these paintings, whether you paint on top of them or whether you sell them or give them away. But the thing is, I've always wanted to do, I still want to do more because I haven't finished the series. But they're all in there now. I know it's like putting some ideas into your head and let them mature, like a baby in the womb. It takes months until the idea gets so strong that it has to come out. And that's what I try to paint it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I use anything to paint, whether it's a head, or whether it's a house, or whether it's a landscape. And then I tend to put it into color. I tend to purify the theme into patches of color. I've been very much influenced by, obviously, the modern artists, especially by Matisse, who is my sort of idol. And I think he's one of the greatest painters that has been able to manipulate color in a fantastic way. So I don't reach his standard, but he's one of my favorite artists because of the use of color.
Do you see
Beautiful
yourself
colours.
painting the same things that you have been doing?
No, I hope not. But I think that art has to evolve naturally. One cannot say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to change my style. It doesn't work like that. I think that if you paint every day, it comes naturally. And I'd love to know now, go forward in 10 years' time, I'd love to see my work. And I know that it won't be the same as now. It will still be detailed, I think, because I can't get away from that. But maybe the colors will be different, the subjects will be different, and I'm learning all the time. And yes, I think I'm maturing as an artist, definitely, but there's no end to it. There's no end, which is a great thing about it. I paint because I want to paint.
Because you're inspired to paint.
Because I'm inspired to paint that particular thing in that moment. There are artists that just do paintings because it's their way of their means of earning money, and they do paintings that will sell. I do paintings. My paintings are quite liked because they're quite conventional. But like the brighter ones, people admire them, but they don't sell. But I don't mind that, because if I want to do it, I get a lot of satisfaction. If an artist paints just for the mere fact of making money, that is a very bad sign.
Really, I'm not selling anything at the moment because I'm unknown. And what my agent is doing is taking my paintings around. Like now it's in Mulhausen. And then in June, it's going to be in another city in Germany. And what happens is collectors will look at my name coming up in another place, and then they'll start taking notice and say, let's see who this guy is, you know? Right. Because it depends a lot on the galleries. Mm-hmm. And my agent is a new gallery. It's not a traditional gallery. So it's not well known. So they don't have the clientele. A gallery has a clientele, and they ring up and say, look, I've got a painting that's interesting for you. And they come. So this is the way it works. But it's lovely to see your name in all these places catalogs, coming up. That's right. One day, somebody's going to discover me, I hope.
Mario, what are you involved in at the moment?
Well, the painting behind me here is my last one, my latest one. I've sort of gone back full circle to my buildings again, although this time I'm looking at them from the bottom,
right?
From the top
rather
down.
than from the top.
Obviously, one of my favorite themes is this stacking up of houses. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that I was born up there, so it has a lot of memories. My school was opposite here in Townridge, and I did a lot of painting from the school windows, the studio, mainly to inspire pupils to look around Gibraltar and see things that are beautiful, although people don't think so. The variety of colors in the building is amazing. You don't find this anywhere in the world. I think Marseille is very similar to Gibraltar in that sense. So I've come back to this thing with a lot of strength, I think, now.
With a new strength,
yeah.
Right? Having explored them as shapes, you've now gone back, you know.
And I probably am a bit sort of softer at the moment. Probably I'll explode again, I don't know. Right. I just let it happen. I'm not very sure about what's going to happen to my paintings.
How many have you done in this new series at the moment? You've done 2, haven't you? Two.
Yeah.
Right. And is this one complete, or you're still working on this one?
I'm now tuning up, like the racing cars. Right. You know, you put things down and then you could look at everything. Sometimes you spend an hour just looking at it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's part of the trying to find faults with the painting, or trying to find what can I do to make it better. Mm-hmm. And it's only because when you see a professional artist, a really major painter, and you say, wow, you know, and then you say, do my painter say wow to me? So I don't think so. So you've got to work until it says wow, you know.
Somebody might come and ask you, paint a lorry for me. Because this guy is very fond of a lorry, like the guy of the ties, for example. No? So would you do that? Would you find it challenging?
Yes, well...
To paint something mechanical like a lorry
yes,
or a motorcycle or something?
I would paint a lorry if that's what he wants. I've never said to any client, anybody that wants to paint, no, I don't want to do it. Because I would let them down and they would think that I cannot do it, right? I'm very proud in the sense that if somebody wants something, I want to be able to do it. And I tell them, yes, you want a lorry, you'll get a lorry, with all the scratches and everything that a lorry might have. So, no, I've never said no to anything, unless it's something obscene or something weird that obviously I've never been asked anything.
So
like
commissions really are an open agenda,
that. Yes, yes.
basically.
Yeah, but when I get a commission, people know more or less the end because they know my style. The artist has to paint what he feels, not, you can't please everybody. You can't please yourself and please the buyer and please, you have to be very set in what you want to do and then just hope for the best. I get a lot of people asking me, don't you paint anymore? And I mean, I paint every day because people don't see me, they don't know. You have to show your work. You have to show your work to the public. It's important. I should exhibit more than I do. I have, I feel guilty about not exhibiting as often as I should, but then I paint for myself.
Before, I was more concerned with representing nature. And now I'm interpreting nature, which means that I'm using my own sensitivity. And I like to work sometimes from photos, if I have, to play from drawings, which have no color at all. And I like that because it gives me the freedom to be inventive with the colors rather than being a slave to the colors. Once you're painting, you don't exist outside the painting. Anything else is just outside yourself. And it's just sheer work. And that gives you a hell of a lot of kick, It's probably why these people in the mountain, when they go to Disney World, they say it's a fantastic thrill, or those who jump from a bridge.
Right.
I think for me, this is a thrill. I think when you come to a blank canvas and the challenge there and what's going to happen to it, and then you're raring to go and you don't know exactly how to tackle it. I always use different backgrounds for my paintings, which I think, I remember we discussed before, to stimulate me, to change. I don't want to be the same. That's a trouble with me.
Mario, without sounding ominous or anything like that, or trying to kill you off, God forbid, how would you like to be remembered? How would you like to be remembered? I mean, in the art world, of course, by your peers. How would you like to be remembered?
I don't know. No idea.
No idea. Or what would you like to be remembered for?
For my smile.
Well, that's it. That's it.